unfortunately for Tim and that side of the argument, it is curtains here.
Yeah, and it's shocking based on what we've seen Tim do in the preseason, being a favorite target of Bo Nix during training camp, getting out there, getting healthy, still running those routes, still getting open. Now, he doesn't have the burst anymore, but in the seemingly role that was available for him, he wasn't really going to need that. He wasn't going to be the take the top off the defense guy. He was going to be the underneath drag route guy, closer to the line of scrimmage, security blanket type of target, and he could do that really well, and he was doing it well.
Right.
And that's the thing.
Right.
And
yeah.
I think the on-the-field stuff, listen, I could tell everybody all day about all their seventh wide receiver, right? I'll tell you the entire history of the guy and why they had to keep him over Tim Patrick. I really think it's off the field and it's in the locker room where his presence is going to be missed the most because he's so different
I agree.
from everyone else. He's the dog.
He's the dog.
He's the guy that would dog cuss people. He's the guy that would call you out if you didn't do it up to the standard, the Broncos standard. He would let you know. None of the other receivers really do that. So this is a curious move.
It is, and I'm just gonna go here. I'm just gonna go here, and we've talked about this young man a lot. It is not personal in any way, shape, or form. I don't know the young man, but Tim Patrick, in part, is getting cut because they have to keep their second or fourth round wide receiver that they moved up 19 spots for, Troy Franklin, who has had one of the worst summers for a player with expectation. The way that we talked about Troy Franklin coming out of the draft and the unique connection with Bo and Pro Football Focus has his CBS Sports Fantasy Football Department projects his season at 545 yards and 5 touchdowns. And even when I saw that, I said, we did a segment on it. I was like, this is a little bit too rich. But Troy Franklin, when I tell you, if this was based off merit, and this is not an opinion, I think this is closer to fact. If it is based off merit, Troy Franklin would not be making this football team. I understand why he is. It's the nature of the National Football League.
Right.
But, man, it's a tough day for Tim Patrick when you have to include Troy Franklin. You don't have to, but they are choosing to include him in making this team. Well,
stylistically, does this mean a guy like Brandon Johnson now makes the team? Because here's what happened. When Devon Vele was drafted, and it's the same college, so you go, wow, he looks like Tim Patrick on film. And then you see him in person, and you're like, oh, my God, he looks like how Tim Patrick used to when Patrick had the burst.
Agreed.
And then now with the way Devon Vele's played, a little bit banged up, but okay, he was going to be the sixth guy, with Patrick included, by the way.
Sure.
But now, because stylistically, like I said, Patrick was more just the underneath guy now, drag route guy. Brandon Johnson is dynamic. He always has been. And he can attack those downfield routes. So maybe you're thinking, well, you have Reynolds to be the underneath guy. You got Vele, who can be like Tim Patrick plus. The clock was ticking. Always got to be careful when you say that. The clock was ticking ever since Devon Vele was drafted, because Vele is essentially Tim Patrick. And it's so weird because he wears his old number.
And from the same school.
Yeah.
Which is like just uncanny.
Yeah.
But Vele has been quite literally the opposite of a guy like Troy Franklin, where every single day you like, especially early in camps, like, oh wait, who's 81 again? Oh, that's that Vele. That's Vele. That's the seventh rounder.
Right.
Where we've had fun with it. I said it's his vitamin. It's one a day Vele. That every single day out there he's making a play. And with Troy, it's the opposite. It's like, wait, what number is this kid? Why don't we see him? He's, they included him yesterday, a little end around to get him involved, Franklin, but no catches.
Flip the script. Put one in the fourth round, put one in the seventh round. We would be having a completely different conversation.
Yes.
It would be, hey, Troy Franklin's good, because Troy Franklin, he'll flash, and then he'll go away for like 3 days. But he'll flash. He'll have the catch of the day, right? He'll be the man, like, oh my God, what a play. And then you won't see him for 3 days. Maddeningly inconsistent with this young man. So if he
I don't even remember the catch every 3 days, dude.
He did.
See, so I'm out there every single day.
I know.
Not every 3 days. I can't go there.
I will stand by that.
Okay.
I will stand by that. He's done that. And I will say this: if he was the seventh rounder, you'd be like, yeah, you could keep him around on a practice squad. You know what I mean? Right now, you're locked in. Hell, Marvin Mims hasn't taken the step, and he's a second rounder. He's a Pro Bowl returner, so we're going to genuflect, and we like Marvin. Yeah. But Marvin is the guy that the stress is getting to him. You see him yelling at coaches, the helmet being thrown, all these sorts of things. Like, you didn't see that with any. Yeah, Johnny Morton, he kind of yells a little bit. And sometimes, and I'm not promoting verbal abuse, but you got to take a chewing in football. It's football, right?
Yeah, it's still football.
And Marvin would yell back because he's frustrated. None of these other guys, they'd get dog cussed. They're not sitting there yelling back.
Yeah.
They're taking and chewing, and they're, yes, sir, no, sir, right away, sir.
Yeah.
And it's different with Marvin. So a couple of guys are making this team based on draft status, and Mims is a Pro Bowl returner. Yes. But it's like Mims isn't taking the step as a receiver.
I know.
Franklin is too inconsistent, and Tim Patrick was consistent every day. What?
Yeah, this one
stings.
It does. It does because and by the way, quick house cleaning. Troy Franklin did have one catch, so I just want to be fair to the young man. 21 yards yesterday. That was his first catch of the preseason. Had one target, no grabs in the first preseason game. I think there was 14 different pass catchers in the second preseason game. He wasn't one of them. Gets on the stat sheet yesterday. Good for him. But yeah, if you. Most things this year, especially offensively, when we talk about the Broncos, I am examining it through a Bo Nix lens because I do think this is the utmost priority for this entire $4.5 billion organization is trying to figure out this kid if he's a franchise quarterback or not and gathering as much information as possible on that. I just can't say that I believe the Broncos offense or the Broncos wide receiver room is better off without Tim Patrick. And through a Bo Nix lens, if you just localize it to Bo, I don't think, and again, I'm not going to get carried away.
Right.
But at the same time, acknowledging this news, I don't think Bo, I'll simplify it like this. I think he's put less in a position to succeed without Tim Patrick.
Well, we did the same thing for Samaje Perine. Let's do it with Timmy Pats here. There's going to be that third down play where they're going to need to move the chains, and it's 3rd and 7, and you're going to need that veteran who runs past the sticks, not before the sticks, but knows where he's at. And Bo's going to find him because Bo's going to find you. And name any receiver. It's Troy Franklin or whoever. Maybe it's Mims or even Josh Reynolds. They're not going to do it, and Tim Patrick would. And I'll go back to the locker room, which is, I guess, where I'm fixated at, but the way he's revered by his teammates. This isn't a Jarrett Stidham, I got to pretend I'm no. They like you because you're funny.
Yeah.
They like Tim because he's a dog, and they respect him. Not saying they don't respect Jarrett, but it's just so different now, and you have all these young eyes that are looking at him as to be that guy. He is that guy. I was hoping that he would be like a coach, something like a player coach or something. Can you keep him around, please? Then Susie Wargin asked him about hey, you're kind of like a coach last year. He's like, I hate it.
Yeah.
He wants to play.
I know.
And he can still play. And damn it, why can't he play here?
Yeah, that's tough, man. And if you're just joining us, the news coming hot off the presses is that Tim Patrick is not going to be a member of this roster and a victim to the numbers game. And I'm just going to say it's not just the numbers game. It's Tim Patrick is a victim to draft status for other receivers who are going to be anointed a roster spot as opposed to taking it. And I'm thinking of, with Troy, we were saying with Vele, if you switched him and all that stuff. But Tim, the way that he even became a member of the Denver Broncos, he was Vele. He was Vele 6 years ago, where it was who is this number 81 again? Oh, Tim Patrick. Well, no, he wasn't drafted, but because he was always hurt in college, and then he goes and takes the opportunity, makes the most of it, gets paid, then gets hurt, misses an entire year, builds himself all the way back, gets hurt again, misses another year. He is like Mr. Taking the long route. Always doing the hard stuff because of the hands that he was dealt, and making the most out of that hand. And it's quite literally the opposite with someone like Troy Franklin, who I'm not saying I've sold every piece of share of his stock that I have, but I also don't have as many as I of those shares as I did a month ago.
Right. And the Denver Broncos saying we had a second-round grade on him. Hell, I had a second-round grade on Troy Franklin. Okay. So he's been very disappointing. He's going to make the team. What's interesting to note, I remember years ago out at training camp when you talked to Tim Patrick about his tattoo of the shield.
Yeah.
And you said, why you got that? And he's like, because that's it.
NFL or nothing, he said.
He's not going to the CFL. He's not going to the UFL. It was everything for him. And you and I have talked to Tim enough to know, the thing he feared the most just got him today. And I'm actually getting sad about it. It's I'm getting emotional here because, he always talked about how I wasn't drafted. They didn't want me.
Yep.
Nobody wanted me. I'm going to make you want me. And today, it's those guys that haven't done what he's done that are making this team because they were drafted and he was not.
I know. And it's not fair. But
football's not fair.
But also, you know, not to get carried away with criticism towards Sean, but he has time and again this summer emphasized that it's about earning it, and it's about finding the best 53 to the point where he shares examples as recent as last week of when you give someone something in that locker room that they haven't earned, it can spoil. And that's what feels like's going on here. And you have a guy who's such a locker room and fan favorite, but locker room favorite, who's being shown the door. When you have someone like Troy, not to beat him up, but like he has been given this. The example that Sean used a week ago is being lived in real time in Denver. And I don't know how you reconcile that. I don't.
Rules for thee and not for me. Right.
Yeah.
And I will say this, and I'll use Sean's word as against him because you just brought it up. Best 53? Best 53. That's what you said, right? Best 53. That includes Tim Patrick.
Facts.
Your best 53 included Tim Patrick, and you just let him go today. Now, maybe you're being nice, and maybe they'll actually end up trading him. I guess Kliss was a little, mysterious with his tweet, and that happens. Hey, we're cutting him. Wait, we can get what? Howie Roseman's like, don't cut him. I'll give you anything. But it's like, okay, where would he go? Where would he fit? I got a few teams in mind.
So do I.
That need a dog. And by the way, you know one team where he could go? Because he can go anywhere, right, if he's cut.
Yeah.
I'm not talking trade.
Because he's a vested veteran. He can choose.
He's a vested veteran, you know what I'm doing? You know what I'm doing? I'm Kansas City. Tim, we need you. Dude, I'm making you sick. I'm making you sick right now, bro, because Kansas City doesn't have anybody like Tim Patrick.
Right.
They got speedsters.
Right.
Xavier Worthy is a blur. I don't even see him. I'm just like, huh? What was that touchdown? Oh, it's Xavier Worthy. Thanks, Buffalo. Again, Buffalo. For giving Kansas City Xavier Worthy. You really
and if you don't
need to do
understand
that
reference, they traded out the first round with Kansas City.
You could have just drafted Keon Coleman in the first, like I had him mocked. Anyway, it's like, but I look at, if I'm a team, and listen, Brett Veach, he knows. He's one of the best GMs in the league. And I hate talking good about Kansas City because I can't stand their fans. And they don't like me, I'm fine. But if I'm Kansas City, I don't have anybody like him.
Could you imagine if Tim
Patrick...
Patrick...
go ring.
Hey, Cecil, I'm telling you, dude... and again, the Broncos are doing whatever they think they have to do.
Sure.
All
sure.
right. So, and if you're just joining us, Tim Patrick is either being traded or he's being cut ahead of tomorrow's deadline. If Tim Patrick is out there making plays for the Kansas City Chiefs and Troy Franklin is inactive on game days the way that I expect him to, there is egg on the face of the Broncos, and they are not above criticism. All right, this operation hasn't earned anything, quite frankly, despite people falling over themselves wanting to crown the quarterback and the coach, all right, because some of them work here on the station. This operation hasn't earned the benefit of the doubt. They haven't had a winning season since 2016, haven't been in the playoffs since 2015, only the Jets with a longer playoff drought. If Tim Patrick is out making plays for the Kansas City Chiefs, dude, that is going to turn my stomach.
Yes, and at least we'll be able to ask Sean Payton about it. Because he hasn't banned any of us, right?
Yeah, not yet.
You can't ask me a question. That's unfair. No. We'll ask questions. Hey, what do you think about Tim going to Kansas City, huh? Want that one back? And I'll say this. Buffalo's the other team. I went over the depth charts.
Cecil, I was just about
Buffalo's
to say
right there because I want to keep Kansas City from getting him.
Yeah.
I'm playing keep away with a guy the Broncos just threw away.
Yeah.
How does that happen? And you could have made room for him. God bless David Sills. God bless Michael Bandy. God bless Brandon Johnson. Any of these guys are keeping over Tim Patrick, but you lose that guy, he can go anywhere and get a ring. That's the type of teams that will be. He's not going to Carolina, whatever. No, teams that are getting a ring, teams that are going to the Super Bowl, they're going to be like, what? Tim Patrick? Yes, please.
Yeah, and the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills, they need help at receiver bad. Yeah. They're a contender. You know how many combined catches are returning from Josh Allen? Combined receivers who have caught a pass from Josh Allen?
It's Khalil, right?
Khalil Shakir. Yeah. The entire room is a total mystery.
It's different.
And he would fit right in there. You think that a Rust Belt a fan base would love themselves some blue-collar Tim
Imagine
Patrick?
a guy like Keon Coleman learning from Tim Patrick. It'd be great for that young man. He's a big-bodied Florida State receiver. Love that guy. But, like, I mean, you just gave up a gem, an asset, you know?
Yeah, wow.
Not a Pro Bowler, not a 1,000-yard receiver, none of this stuff. Let's get out of this fantasy football mindset. It's about the culture. Tim Patrick represents the culture that you want to put forward and to improve on this team, because all the things that you said, it's been horrible around here since Super Bowl 50. It's been terrible.
Yep.
It's been tragic. Tim Patrick can help you get back to that.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. So, news of the day, Samaje Perine being cut if they can't trade him, and Tim Patrick not making the Denver Broncos roster, victim to the numbers game, victim to the draft status. And, man, I hope here's the hope here, that we get to December, or maybe we have to wait till next year, and it's like, man, thank goodness the Broncos never did sell their stock on Troy Franklin. Man, this kid's making plays. But the way that it's trending for him, it's not ideal, to put it lightly. And Tim Patrick is going to find a new home. And I mean, I would imagine he's furious right now.
And that's why, for people, I'm sure the RamosLaw.com text line's lit up about, like, you just threw him on the practice squad. Okay, you can, and I'm not saying, and if Tim's still here, I'll talk to him. But that's an insult, bro. That's an insult. Apologies to everyone who makes practice squad. You're the greatest player ever. But to Tim Patrick, to that guy, what he means in that locker room.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we're going to cut you. Can you come back on a break? Like, no. You could keep him on the 53. You could. And when camp started, I had questions and whether Tim would make the 53 or not, just based off of mandatory. You and I had talked at mandatory minicamp of, like, he can still get open, but, man, that burst's not there.
Yeah.
And then camp, he just kept making plays. And he made plays for Bo. It's not like he was working against the threes and, oh, man, him and Zach Wilson have a great rep. No, he was making plays for Bo against the ones. And you let him go the day before you have to make cuts?
Man, whoa.
I don't like it.
No, no, because, and I have to agree with you, I thought Tim Patrick earned a roster spot. And I was looking at Tim with a forecast through the lens of like speculation, like, is this guy really going to come back after 2 years at 30-something years old? Remember, he adjusted his contract.
Yep.
And, you know, I do wonder if what broke the tie here was his cap hit. I wonder if that broke a tie. And I know, again, he do we have his number? It looks like it's a cap number of over $7 million. And again, this is if his cap hit did come into play, you are still feeling, and still it's the year one of feeling the ripple effect of the Russell Wilson decision. And so again, I don't know how much, and he's 31. I said he's 30. Tim Patrick. I wonder how much the cap number came into play.
I hope that's not the direct responsibility, because I don't want the Walton Penner Group to run business that way, where they're pinching pennies. Do you know who the lowest team to pay players over the last 4 years is? It's the Dallas Cowboys. Now they're sitting on a bunch of money that they haven't spent, and you got the CD. CD hasn't been paid yet, right?
Yeah, he got paid.
Oh, he got paid. Okay,
yeah, today.
So you paid
Today.
that. All right.
Yep.
Okay, good.
Yep.
You still got Dak, right? You've got others that are coming up. So it's like, I don't want you to necessarily be a penny pincher if you don't have to. And a guy like Tim Patrick, who did rework his deal, like, okay, I get the savings, but I just hope that's not the tiebreaker.